6:15 in the morning, just on my way up the hill. Probably about my third attempt now to do the portrait shot. So here's the thing. A lot of successful landscape photography is an exercise in patience and persistence, and I think I can add self-portraits in the landscape to that list as well. This week I've been out taking a self-portrait. The one on my website is years out of date, and I need one for my YouTube channel. Actually, I need two, one to fit a banner and one to be a bit more close up. And well, how hard could it be? I mean, I take corporate portraits as part of my day job. I've come up here on the Port Hills to actually do a self-portrait, but didn't really allow enough time. I'm not sure if this is actually going to work. It's really windy up here. I'm on Rapaki track. I was heading up to Mount Vernon to take some self-portrait actually. It's so windy. A bit of a shame, but I'm going to pull the plug. I think it might be an interesting exercise to go through one of my failures from this shoot because, well, I've come to view mistakes differently as I've developed as a photographer. These days I try to lean into failures. Yay, I made a mistake. I've learned something. And when you look at your mistakes more from this learning mindset, you start to enjoy the process more, which is what it's about really. Your best photo is always the one you're going to take tomorrow. So here's the image. Although it's sharp in most places and is fine at very small sizes, if I zoom into it, you can see I've picked up some camera shake. This is due to the wind vibrating the tripod. Not every part is blurry, but enough for the image to be a reject. If I view the metadata from one of the captures, I can see I was at 1 second shutter speed. I really should have had the shutter speed much higher, as I had room to open both the aperture and increase the ISO without degrading the image too much. The truth is, I was cold and I was distracted by all the people coming and going from the hilltop. It had been in the press that a rare blue moon would rise that evening, and this was a good viewpoint. So if I zoom into this image, you can actually see the moon just starting over the crest of the hill. I did change to a 400mm lens to get some shots of the moon, but these were also a fail. I didn't realize my wireless connection to the camera has stopped working, so it wasn't firing the shutter. I did get some shots of the big moon earlier that day on my morning walk. This is the device I referred to earlier that gives me a wireless connection to the camera. It's called a Cam Ranger and allows me to view the image on my phone, check focus, change settings and fire the shutter. And there are many similar systems on the market, and they're a really handy thing to have if you're photographing yourself out in the field. So while we're looking at gear, I really like the Swiss Arca or Really Right Stuff camera brackets. The main advantage of them is that you can quickly rotate the camera from horizontal to vertical, and it still keeps the weight of the camera centered over the tripod, so it's really stable. I also often use a leveling base, and this is an add-on at the bottom of the camera bracket that lets me adjust the level of the rotating base so that it's perfectly flat. By doing that, I can then ensure that the camera rotates perfectly around a level plane. Now this is what can happen if you don't rotate the camera around a flat plane when you're trying to get your panorama exposures. However, there is a trick you can use if you don't have any of this gear or you're just hand holding a camera. The most decent cameras will let you put a grid overlay on the screen, and I use this to note a point in the landscape that is on one of the grid intersections. Then I rotate the camera to the next grid intersection for the next capture, and I repeat this process until I've covered the width of the panorama I want. This technique also ensures that your images have enough overlap for the stitching software to work with. A quick note on how I put this composite together. It's made up from these 16 vertical exposures, probably about a 150-degree view in total. I also shoot some frames of myself separately, but without moving the tripod. Because the camera is in the same place and the lighting won't have changed, It's an easy Photoshop job to drop myself into the panorama. Once I've lined up the shot of me, I just add a simple layer mask and the job's done. So I got the shots I needed in the end, and while it's important to have a plan, sometimes you need to roll with the unexpected. In New Zealand, an island nation with a lot of coastline, the unexpected will often be the weather. Even though I check several weather forecasts, sometimes you just have to get out into the landscape and see what happens. Persistence and patience. Thanks for watching.